Hit it.
I remember my freshman year of college. I got together with some of my friends and we decided to shoot an intro video for a YouTube channel that they had. Me and three people got together and we put on some scary masks and then proceeded to scare the living daylights out of our poor friend Jared. But it was for YouTube, so it was all in good fun. I remember this experience not only because it was fun, but because that put a desire in me to spend more time doing film and digital media, and that is what pushed me to actually choose digital media production as a minor to study. And I love it almost as much as I love my major, graphic design. In my project, I will be exploring how our friends rub off on us and influence our experiences. Our experiences change who we are. And I will be talking with a couple of my own friends, and I'll be asking them what experiences impacted them the most or were the most memorable to them. So I will have, using some of my education in classes such as motion graphics and intro to design, I will be using illustrations to illustrate the interviews that I have, of which I learned how to do from classes such as intro to DMP and also digital cinematography. So I would like to tell you a little bit before I show you my project, a little bit of how I got to this point. So I'm going to be telling you a little bit about how I got to my idea, and then a little bit of the process of creating it, and then the conclusion, the summary of my work. So my project, when I first sat down and decided what to do, I had to figure out what I wanted to do it about, and I really wasn't sure. I realized though that this year I've been thinking a lot about my friends, because my friends actually graduated last year, most of my friends. And so I don't get to see them nearly as often as I used to. I really missed them. So I wanted to do something for them. But I couldn't just do something as vague as, here are my friends. So I had to decide what I was going to focus on. And I decided that our experiences together was probably the best option. And I like talking about our experiences because they're fun. So, my medium was decided when I tried to figure out how I was going to present this information. I figured that an interview process would be a good way of fully delivering all the information that they've given. A story would be best given when it's spoken instead of just written on the wall. So I decided to do some interviews and to top it off with motion graphics to illustrate what they were talking about to give it more flavor. This was, again, as I've said before, things that I've already learned how to do in my education here in graphic design and digital media, and also a lot of my own personal work and experiences here at the school and also elsewhere. So now that I have my idea and I know what I want to talk about, I had to start the process. The process was both the design and the shooting, the filming. I had to design the illustration for going over the interviews. So to begin, I brainstormed. I decided what kind of questions was I going to ask, what kind of style did I want to do for the illustrations. I had to start storyboarding what I was going to illustrate. When they do their interviews, I needed to decide what I was actually going to be drawing over the top. And then I had to write a script if I wanted to talk about each interview in between. And if not, then I didn't have to worry about it. The process of actually creating the project was a long one. I had to film the interviews, and then I had to go ahead and start designing what the illustrations would be. The most difficult part for me was that I couldn't start designing until I had my interviews because I didn't have anything to illustrate over if I didn't know what they were going to talk about. The problem was I couldn't actually get these interviews until later into the semester, which put me on a serious time crunch. And then I had to start putting it all together. I chose to go with a more minimalistic, as you can see, minimalistic style, very basic, so it wouldn't distract from the actual interview, so you could still listen and hear what they have to say. And I ended up running into a huge problem with this project, and that was I had about an hour, almost 2 hours of footage of interviews. That's a lot to animate. So I cut it down and I was only able to get it to about 15 minutes. That's a long time. That's a lot of stuff to animate over. So over time, I kept whittling it down. I got rid of a lot. And I ended up with about 6 minutes, which is a lot less. Unfortunately, I had to cut a lot of stuff, but I didn't really have a choice. But that gave me enough time to be able to actually put stuff over them. So now I have a much better project than I did before. So what do I have out of this? Well, I came up with a great idea, talking about my friends and our experiences. I started the process, designed the illustrations, and got my interviews. And what do we have now? Now I have a creative video about the influence of community, focusing on a group of friends, using interviews and motion graphics to illustrate them. So without further ado, please feel free to pay attention to my project.
Hit the lights.
Interpersonal community. How does it change us? How does it affect our decisions and experiences? Maybe we should take a look into it. Actually, I know just the group that we can ask. Here we go. These are my friends. They can give us some great examples of how we've changed each other.
My name is Jared, otherwise known as Goof. I definitely think that I am better at choosing peace now, because you can ask anybody who met me maybe about 4 or 5 years ago. You know, I was definitely someone who was like the shoot first, hurt everybody's feelings, and then when everybody blows up at you, then you're like, okay, well now it's war, because you know you decided to fire back. That was just the way that I was. The fact that it didn't really ever start a fight whenever I would like interrupt Ty whenever he would say things that I just genuinely did not agree with. It was strange to me that like he fought back, but he didn't fight back the way I fought back. He didn't fight fire with fire, and that always just stuck out to me. If I want to keep these people around, I'm gonna have to change, because like there's no way they're gonna keep around somebody who literally always wants to argue with people. So yeah, choosing peace. Hi, my name is Ty. And I was this arrogant little crud who was basically, it took all the air of the words that were later used to describe me by my good friend Jared was urban mystic. Because I thought I was God's gift to humanity and I was here to save everyone from their emotional trauma, and I had your answers right there. I'm not God's answer to everything. I don't have 91 to make it all better. I really genuinely don't. We were walking from the Pizza Hut back to our dorms to all go hang out, and I was talking about something, and I remember Grace just intensely frustrated goes, "Can we stop psychoanalyzing one another for 5 minutes?" And I sat there and I was like, yeah, I bet that really sucks to like have to listen to. I bet I'm being a turd right now. And it was in that moment that I realized, you know what?
I'm not God, and I give good advice, but I don't know what you should do in every situation. I shouldn't act like I do. And I just didn't think I was, but I was. And it took me a lot of learning and a lot of pain, honestly, to get through that. But I did eventually get through that. So I don't know why they cut me around, but I'm glad they did.
My name is Grace. Favorite stories? It was finals year, I think, and all of us were suffering. You, Ty, me, Jared, Tim. We would all stand in the common area that we would call the fishbowl, and we would be like, okay, this is it. This is our bed now. Set up your switch, Adam. Everyone else get to your work. We catch you doing anything else from what you're doing. Excommunicado. No more. You're not allowed to play Breath of the Wild. So we would take turns alternating, keeping each other motivated, like constantly making sure that everyone was doing what they were supposed to, actually setting up a sort of support system for everyone.
The most influential event that's happened with our group of friends, I would say, wow, there's so many. It was the moment I just met somebody at my job and they were like, hey, you want to go out? And I was like, yeah, sure. But you know, I just had a bad relationship I got out of. I don't know if I should do this. And you, Goof, and Kate, especially you, I remember what you said, Adam. You were like, be careful, but I think you should go upstairs and pray before you do something like this. And I feel like God spoke to me in that moment and he said, you know, go. Don't be afraid. What is it, Joshua 1:9? And it says, do not be afraid, do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. And I went downstairs and I said, guys, thank you. I think I want to go do this. And I'm married now to that same woman. The reason why that was the most influential moment is because I was afraid to try again. And you guys were there for me and influenced me. And now I have a great wife. I had 2 beautiful children. They are my kids now, and we're doing great. And so I would say that's the most influential moment that I've had with you guys. When you find a group of friends that truly love and care about you, keep them by your side forever. I never imagined that I would have these group of people like still with me from like 6 years ago. I was thinking, you know, go to college, meet a few friends, and then never see them again. You guys are my bros till I die.
Community is the essence of existence, in my opinion. The reason why I say this is when God created the earth, he created Adam and Eve. But Adam had literally the world at his feet. And he has God come to visit with him, come talk with him. Like, you have everything you could possibly want, and you have dominion over it. And he was unhappy. And the reason being is because man was meant to be alone. And that community is the essence of what makes you you. And I think that's why community is so important.
Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a game night with my friends, and I wouldn't miss it for the world. Oh, and thanks for watching. I hope these were good examples for you about how friends can change each other.
Oh, go back.
So, who would we be without our friends? Very different, to say the least. They influence our experiences, and our experiences change our skills and who we are in general. If it wasn't for my friends, I certainly would be very different. It's these communities that we have that change how we behave, and these are the tools of which we grow. And to know this is to take hold of the influences over your life. So, to leave you with this, this is a quote by Henry Drummond, a Scottish evangelist. He says, "The people who influence you are the people who believe in you." Thank you. Any questions? Yes?
Are you thinking that you will try and cultivate more friend groups, or are you going to just stick with the one that you have and try and add to it?
Good question. I certainly will be keeping my current friend group close. I find that it's very important to invest in what relationships you already have. I think it's also important to continue to grow your connections and continue to invest in those relationships. Any other questions? Yes.
Did you come across any difficulties that you had to overcome in this project?
Sorry?
Did you come across any difficulties that you had to overcome in this project?
Difficulties?
Like maybe technical difficulties or?
Yes. I'm glad that you asked that. Oh my goodness. All right. The parts where I was in it, I filmed it all. It was all said and done, and it looked all good on camera, and I brought it into post. I spent 12 in the afternoon till 7 at night filming this. So I got in and I put it on the Mac, and I looked at it, and the green screen was all wrinkled, and it wouldn't edit out properly, so there was all these blotches of white, and all of the audio was gone. So I had to film it all again, but that's not it. So I film it all again, and I'm not going to make the same mistake twice. So I come in and I check the everything before I tear everything down. And the whole thing was out of focus. The entire thing. So I came in and I asked my good friend Josiah to help me, and we went back and we filmed it all again for the third time. And then we had our finished product. And I wasn't going to do it again after that anyway, so I'm glad that it turned out. Any other questions?
If you had one more week to work on this, what would you do differently?
That's a good question. I would certainly spend more time just cleaning it up. Honestly, I spent most of the time just trying to get the basic structure in there and then going back and trying to clean it up. But there were certain parts that I couldn't clean up because I didn't have the footage or I didn't have enough space. I ended up spending a lot of time trying to get all of the videos off of my computer onto the Mac because it actually completely filled up the space on my computer, and my computer didn't want to move anything. It was complaining at me, and I wanted to punch it. So if I had a little bit more time to feed the files in there, it would have been a little easier. Any others? Yes?
How have you personally been affected by your friendship group?
That's a broad answer.
You can give like 1 point.
Okay. Well, I mentioned the one about my minor. My friendship group has certainly showed me the parts of myself that I needed to change. The interesting thing about good friends is that you need to be open to constructive criticism. And one thing we don't like is being told how we're wrong. And so seeing each other's flaws helps you to recognize your own flaws. And I've seen a lot of flaws being with my other friends. So that has helped me be a better person. Any others?
All right, that's it. That's all we have time for, guys.
Thank you.
All right, up next we have our first digital media production presentation with Josiah Trumbulley and his short film. Josiah, so let's get come on up to get
presentation. It is presentation. It should be updated at the link to update the link on If you go up like 4, I just sent the chat. Go back to chat. Go next. Yep, that's it. That's it. Yep, it's updated. I'll get you back to the So how did you plan to show your video? Are you going to show your video? I was going to ask you. I was calling this. I was going to show you Alright, here you are.
No, there's great.
Yep.
Alright, well,
Alright. This is
right. Go ahead and put you to switch.